Now, you built that place, didn't you? So you
Been
can
around a long time.
I
but-
was going to say you can tell us about it, and you're still working on it down in the basement of that place at the rear. So,
Well, if you look around, most every courthouse in the state has security, and Franklin County was one of the few that didn't, and it was become obvious that something needed to be done, and the Department of Criminal Justice, they recommended several changes, and so as a result, this is what we wound up with. And I can see state law says you can't carry a gun in the courthouse, even if you got a concealed weapon permit. You can't carry a pocket knife. So I mean, it's going to be changes, and it'll take a while, but it'll all work.
what do you think of the new plan itself?
I think it's going to work out okay. One of the interesting thing is the floor tile is certain colors, color coded. If you want to go upstairs to a circuit court, say, they can tell you follow the green color coded or which floor tiles to go with. It's pretty neat, well designed.
I can't help but ask, where's the yellow brick road going to take us? I mean, that's an interesting way to do it, but it's a especially with a newness of something like that, to have that. You want to make a comment, sir?
Just that in some ways it's a disappointing state of affairs that you have to close off some beautiful entrances to a
Yes.
historic
Yes.
courthouse, but it's the world that we live in. I think it is very appropriate that we provide this security. The front doors facing Main Street will be locked. The doors facing Court Street will be locked. And all participants in the services offered inside the courthouse will have to come in off of what would be the downhill side, the parking lot side. But the good thing is there will be sheriff's deputies there, can answer questions, can direct you to where you need to go, and as Mr. Wagner said, help you to follow the right tile to get to where you need to be, whereas in the past a lot of people wandered around and sort of had to just try to find things.
Yes.
And that wandering around is a result of a number of additions to a historic building that wasn't really designed for the services that are offered in there today. And so making the best to do you can with a historic building that's been added onto a number of times, I think this will help.
Yeah, it will be an improvement, and it's going to make it a little bit easier to understand, and that's a plus. Of course, we're going through changes in judges all of a sudden too, so it's just, and as is appropriate in our community, some wonderful people have been asked to move up. Some good folks, lawyers and other people that are now moving into positions as people retire and move on. And that's like, the courthouse changes, and so does the judicial end of the spectrum there too. So that's, but it's good that we have the quality of folks that we have here that know, and they've all been here a long time. So it's very good. I'm anxious to. I wonder if there's going to be probably going to be a ribbon cutting of some variety, and it would probably be a nice thing to have people have an opportunity to get in it and look at it and see it and think of it as their courthouse, because that would be excellent. But yeah, just be prepared, folks. Read the story in today's paper. You have to go through metal detectors, and I know you're going to cluck about that and say, "Oh wow, the rest of the world has problems. We don't need to worry about that." Well, unfortunately, I think we do. So we'll follow the recommendations and take care of it like that. Something very new, though. And that's so much to deal with as we go forward. Now, while all of this is going on, there was a Board of Supervisors meeting. That did happen yesterday. And it was exciting. moving right along. You know, but aren't you happy that on occasion a Board of Supervisors meeting is not exciting?
It was exciting last night.
Okay.
We had a couple of public hearings last night on an issue that people are very passionate about, and Mr. Wagner and I were discussing that on the way down here this morning. We haven't had a passionate public hearing in some time, but the issue last night was short-term rentals in residential areas or areas that appear to be residential, whether they're zoned residential or they're zoned agriculture, where there are houses close together and neighborhoods. Do you want to allow a short-term rental of less than 30 days where somebody could rent, for instance, a house at the lake for a week at a time? And what does that do to the character of a neighborhood of long-time permanent residents? And we had 2 applications last night, and the board made a fairly strong statement, I would say, that while other counties may allow those, that's not something that Franklin County wants to entertain. And so they denied the request for short-term rentals on the 2 applications last night, and basically said that the idea of somebody coming in and renting a house for a week in the middle of a neighborhood where that might create transient kinds of folks that may not treat the neighborhood as well as the permanent residents might is not something that they wanted to entertain. And I thought it sent a fairly strong message last night. Mr. Wagner may want to comment more on it, but I say it was passionate in that there was a room full of folks that wanted to be real clear about how they felt about it, and did a very good job of letting the board know exactly what they thought about short-term rentals in a neighborhood.
Was that, there's no such thing?
There are areas in the county where it is allowed. We have 2 zoning areas where it's allowed by right, but they're multifamily, more dense kinds of development.
Okay.
Bernard's Landing is a good
Yeah,
example.
Okay.
Where the zoning there allows for, in that case, mostly condos can be rented short-term, but there aren't as many permanent residents in that setting. It's not, the point that was made last night is a lot of people buy in a neighborhood in Franklin County because they know we don't allow short-term rentals, whereas Bedford does. And so people have that choice. If you want to live in that kind of environment, there's a place you can do that at Smith Mountain Lake. And if you want to be protected from that, there's a place you can do that at Smith Mountain Lake. And the folks last night, I think, were saying to the board, people have a choice. Let's not change the way we look at it so that people can continue to have that choice.
It was sort of a situation where if you do it for one, are you ready, prepared to do it for all? And that was the concerns that we had. You know, would you want your next door neighbor rent his house out to a bunch of folks that you don't know anything about? And I mean, that's about the size of it. So, I mean,
Yeah, I think the fact that somebody's coming in under a 1-year, 2-year lease or has got some kind of a long-term plan, you're confident of certain aspects of that rental. Now, sometimes that doesn't work, but you're at least, that's the best way to look at it, I think. And I agree completely. Yeah, that's definitely a better thing on average.
yeah. I told one of the people last night, I said, if we open the door, it makes it hard to close.
We as a world pretty much, that's the way it works, you know. And it's the old give an inch, and
Take a mile.
boy, I'll tell you, it's tough. And if you get something that is, you can draw it up tight, and it's protects everyone, go that way. And no saying that there shouldn't be a change at some other date, but then you handle it and look at it, and it's open for discussion, see where you go. But I'd much rather have it the way we have it now. Thank you. Excellent comments. There's a lot of things going on around. Now, yesterday's board meeting, it's a 2-pager. Now, one side, 2 pages. So it was not a just turns out not a very large meeting, not a very, the Parks Comprehensive Plan was evidently presented by Mr. Chapman, and seems to be doing a fine job, and Ms. Salibi, the Recreation Commission, that is an excellent plan to have those people on that commission. These are solid citizens, every one of them, people what I used to say are the ones that stand with their hands on the hips and saying, "No, you will not," people like that. And that's the kind of people you want to have controlling some aspects of that. Mr. Chapman's remarks were.
Yeah, people have a tendency to yawn when you start talking about a master plan until you get barraged with phone calls that say, I call them the good idea of the day. Let's do X. Well, tomorrow it's let's do Y, and next week it's let's do something different. And without a plan that says, no, we've decided what our priorities are and we're going to finish X before we take on Y, really helps people to understand why we can't just jump from one thing to another. And that's the purpose and the goal of a long-range plan. It was significant. It was an update of a earlier plan that had been done. We had asked the commission to go through because we were starting to get, as the economy begins to pick up and so forth, we're getting people saying, oh, I've got a good idea. Let's go do whatever, build this, build that, have one of these, have one of those. And so the plan that was presented to the board yesterday was an introduction to that. The document's an inch or so thick, and so they gave it to the board and said, spend some time with it, look it over, give us your comments, and we'll be back at a future date and ask you to adopt it. So it wasn't pushing for a immediate decision. It's the first time the board had seen the updates. But the commission spent a lot of time and effort going through and updating numbers and costs, and then there's a set of recommendations that says, year one, here's what we want to work on. Year two, here's what we want to work on, and here's how much we think it's going to cost. And if you can't do it all in 1 year, then maybe it takes 3 years to do year one, and then you call it phase one, and you just keep working till you get it done. It really helps provide some leadership and guidance rather than just jumping from one thing to another.
Yeah, everybody knows that's the right way to do it, but it's sometimes hard to hold people down that they want to do. It brings to mind the fair, which after a long absence, the county fair happened again, and by the time the fair's time had run last summer, end of the summer, everybody was saying how good this is. 1 in 1,000 had a problem with it, and that was because they had to walk too far, or something like that, something that had nothing to do with the element of what was there. And I'm very happy to see that, and that's coming back. And that's going to mean, I suppose, the beginning of a long-term annual event. And that's the plan. So that is a good thing. And it was fun last summer. And
they did a great job.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. There was an awful lot there. And for a first year, there was a lot going on. So it probably harkened back to another era more so than anybody thought. I grew up going to a county fair, and every year, is it time? And there were certain things that you just enjoyed and looked forward to, and it was very good. So that's part of being a responsible county that does all the right things. So that looks to be a good thing, and that's going to be continuing. Now, I know that you know that, ladies and gentlemen. I know you've heard and read in the paper all the as they prepare for this summer's county fair. So just sit back, relax, and you'll be involved, and you can enjoy yourself yet again another summer with another county fair, and on and on and on. It's almost the high point of the social life of an area sometimes. There's so many good things that you deal with, and I'm grateful. I looked at something that this morning when I sat down here, I glanced through it at yesterday's agenda, is what I'm talking about, folks. Excess funds, something says. Is that a joke, or does somebody really have excess funds? Now, this is, and of course it's involved with the regional jail. Does that mean there's less people going to jail, so we have to spend less money? Or that kind of confounds me, because nothing costs less. It's always the other way.
Well, I think the regional jail has done a good job of managing.
Excuse me.
And, you know, we're getting a lot of inmates. See, Franklin County, City of Salem, Montgomery County, and Roanoke County are the 4 member jurisdictions that make up the regional jail. And we get a lot of inmates from out of town, a lot of federal inmates that help pay the expense of the operations. And as a result, we've been able to save money each year, really, and a lot of it we put on the debt that we incurred when we built the jail. But this is some that come back to the member localities, and very, very pleased with the job that the folks at the regional jail do.
Is there anything that we need yet to do, or are we about where we can handle? Is there any, it's like when we get started on something, it's going to be the best one ever, and it's going to take care of everything. About the time it's built, son of a gun, we forgot that. But this seems to be pretty satisfactory.
It's worked really well. Of course, it's set up to where at some point, if we have to put in, we can double bunk. The jail is designed where you can double bunk, I mean, and put extra bunks in the cell, each cell block, which would come up to around 1,100. And after that, we would have to either look at building another, what we would call another pod on or whatever. But the regional jail has been a valuable asset to us.
One of those unfortunate expenditures that you really don't want, you really don't need to have, and you wish you didn't have to have, but...
Well, when you go by Dixie Caravan, look over there across the river, there's a 7-acre building over there.
Yep, and it's doing a job. So that's it's a good thing, yeah. All right, well that's at this point pretty successful, and we go forward. And what was discussed yesterday, on top of that, they had excess funds, which is, I'll leave that one alone. I don't have any idea what it means, but it's good. If you can plan so that you end up not going in the hole, but coming out ahead, in my book, ladies and gentlemen, that means you're successful. Even though it could be, oops, don't push it. You did it, and that's good. So, and that may be what happened here. So I'm glad to see that.
I guess fortunately, Mr. Huff's name and my name are on a plaque on the wall over there, but it's not on the most wanted.
Not on. I'd be worried there. So you were saying, going to go over there and find most wanted. Great stuff happening. We continue to be. What do you look at as a successful venture? What do you look at as in your time? And this is a series of questioning that you're probably going to hear a little bit more as you go forward. And this is our involvement with the regional jail, our involvement with the modernized, updated courthouse, all the things that happened. Do you have any areas that you look at now over the last year, 2 years, 3 years, whatever, that you are very comfortable with and glad we made these steps and are where we are?
Lots of them.
Is that right?
As you would expect, lots
Yeah,
of them.
Yeah.
One of the biggest ones, in my opinion, is our relationship with the Western Virginia Water Authority. And why do I say that? Because Franklin County had no water source, no utility department, no public utilities at all. And through our relationship with the Western Virginia Water Authority and the Roanoke Valley governments, because they all had to vote to agree to let us join something that they had already built and had running very efficiently and very well. We didn't have to create our own utility department. We didn't have to hire our own employees and fight the learning curve of setting something up from scratch. We didn't have to get in a situation of going out late at night on a water main break, and having to repair them and getting the complaints from folks. We were able to partner with an organization, one that was running very smoothly. They have very talented people running that organization and working in that organization. And then on top of that, we were able to cost share some projects with them based on their return on investment, instead of us having to put 100% of the cost into everything that we've done since then. So it started, quite frankly, on the back of an envelope. It was sitting with Bill Roth, the former Bedford County Administrator, where we got the first deal to share water with Bedford County and bring water across Hales Ford Bridge into the Westlake area. And from the back of that envelope, we then went to Western Virginia and said, we want to partner and bring water down 220. Then Congressman Virgil Goode helped us get some federal money to help us build that water line so that we didn't again have to bear the entire cost ourselves. From there, we extended the line from Westlake up to Burnt Chimney. We got word last night that we're going to be able to extend up Jubal Early Highway at another developer's cost, so the county won't have to build that line. Our ISO rating has dropped in Westlake and in Burnt Chimney to a level that should save commercial businesses 30 to 35% on their insurance. We've got 10, 15 million gallons of capacity in the two reservoirs that we draw from Roanoke. And then there's significant capacity, I don't have the number off the top of my head, but significant capacity in the Bedford treatment plant. And our goal is to connect Western Virginia and Bedford's treatment system long-term, so that water could go either way from Carbons Cove or Smith Mountain Lake to service our communities. I could go on, but just in terms of a home run for Franklin County, not having to build it ourselves and to be able to pay for projects that, if there's a return on investment for Western Virginia, they will help participate financially with us, I think is an excellent, excellent position for the county. And I applaud the board's foresight in being able to join that and be a full partner.
Was that something that was greeted equally positively by the surrounding counties that were involved with it also? Everybody very welcoming and including?
Interestingly enough, they were. And part of that, quite frankly, was that we had built a relationship with Roanoke City and Roanoke County prior to that coming up. Even when Mr. Wagner was chairman of the board, there's a mayors and chairs meeting that happens regularly between the Roanoke Valley governments. The Roanoke Valley managers meet on a regular basis. We had built a relationship. They knew that we were a government of our word, and if we said we would do this, that we were going to do it, and that we were honorable in our intentions and our actions. And so they did welcome it. On the agenda yesterday was the next step in that, and now Botetourt County has requested to join Western Virginia as well. And we're now in the position of having to say, yes, you can, or no, you can't. And the board will have a public hearing on that next month. But I think it's a good thing for Botetourt to belong as well. We don't share costs. There are no upfront costs, so it's not like we have to pay and the money's going to end up in Botetourt any more than Roanoke City had to pay and it ends up in Franklin County. We pay for our own projects unless it benefits the authority as a whole through hookups and future revenues. So working regionally has been very smart for us. And so you articulated earlier, it's the regional jail, it's the juvenile detention center, it's the regional water authority, it's the economic development partnership, it's the convention and visitors bureau, all regional kinds of activities that working together, the industrial facilities authority, working together, we can do so much more than any one of us could do on our own.
Well, you know, that's, sometimes people don't particularly want to do that. They want to hold it themselves and don't particularly care to share.
I think we all look at what benefits the region benefits all of us.
Sounds wonderful to me. Any other comments that you want to make today? We'll sit down at least 2 or 3 more times and we'll try to avoid being maudlin.
Good.
Thank you. But we will sit down and talk with you again. The only other thing I commented on was support of the 50th anniversary of Smith Mountain Lake. That's such a, what did he say? You know, 50 years, 50th anniversary of Smith Mountain Lake. You know, that's kind of a neat thing that's on its way. And there's been a lot of things happening to it to get to that point. So, but be that as it may, is there anything else that you'd like to talk about today, Mr. Wagner?
I just appreciate the opportunity to come down and promote Franklin County. And I appreciate your job Cable 12 does working with us to do that.
It's our pleasure, believe me. It's these are a good bunch of people. I'm just tagging along, you know, but Steve and Kevin and the rest of them, Jamie and all of them that make it work. It's a very close-knit and a very comfortable relationship. Any closing comments, sir?
No, again, the opportunity to come down here is very special, and the people down here are tremendous. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep it up.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, the folks here have an appointment, and we're going to close off this part of our morning. I'll come back with some announcements, but I just want to thank them for them coming down and getting started early. And you know, it's not easy sometimes when you are successful and things are happy and moving well. You know, the heck with change. Let's just hold it where it is. You know, we're doing fine. Continue. But life moves on. And we have to look at every aspect of it which causes change. And we'll be okay. More importantly, Mr. Huff will be okay also. That's important. Really.
Thank you, sir.
I congratulate you and wish you the very best. And we'll talk some more about it. Charles, thank you. As always, a good solid word of what's going on in the county comes from you, and I thank you for that. And if I need to know something, doesn't matter if it's the right kind of screw or the right kind of piece of wood or what color paint or whatever it is, or or something about the courthouse, you're the expert. So we thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, great people doing great things. Mr. Wagner, Mr. Huff,